video really quick. I just wanted to talk about side deck cards for the format. Something that I think is really important, something that I think a lot of people need to really do think about when they're going to major tournaments, major events, and stuff like that. The side you like something I've learned from Yu-Gi-Oh. From when I used to play that is a motto that you play more games with your side deck in than you do without one sided in. So you need to make sure your side deck is up to par with, especially with PPG Orlando coming up pretty soon. Really big tournament coming up. So I'm just gonna go over a few side deck options here. You guys can ignore the Bojack that I have there for some reason. It isn't supposed to be there. I don't know why it's there, but ignore that. So let's go ahead and talk about first option here. We have Godstrike Beerus. Godstrike is a really good card. I think it's really good. I put this in here as like a baby as a baby matchup. They do tend to, go all in with their triple strikers and trying to kill you with that last little bit of life you have. And it does generally happen on your turn 2 play, on your turn 2 energy. So let's, if you didn't have a negate in your hand or you feel like they're going to have a cooler in their hand, because I know a lot of yellow baby players are running cooler, which is the counter that negates your negate. So if you are afraid of that and you have the 2 energy open, you can always let them go all in with their triple strike onto your life and then just God strike it and take the life from there, and just take the single damage. And now they've dumped hand on the combo, so they're on the clapback. You're more likely to handle them a little bit easier. Next over here, we have Godly Destruction Whis. This is pretty much just like the generic card, like the Borgos. There's a Kami for green. It's basically just saying, when you play this card, draw 1, and then once per turn, if your opponent on their turn tries to use like a Sensu Bean or a leader ability to untap energy or whatever the case may be, you can snipe under their energy. The Cunning cards, this is the placeholder for all the Cunning cards. Does the same, pretty much almost the same thing, whereas it's for the entire game if your opponent wants to untap using an extra card or a battle card, not their leader ability. Your opponent has to warp 5 cards as an additional cost, and if they don't have the 5 cards in the warp, then they don't get to activate that effect. Both of these guys are really, really good cards for the side deck, in my opinion. If you're going against decks that are blue, green, blue, red, if we're going to see that at all, just kind of help you defend against Bean and stuff like that. Next, we have Baby Vegeta, an Unfair Choice. I think this guy's really, really good for that spot removal. For just dropping 2 cards, you literally get rid of any card in the game. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards, put it in rest mode, ignoring barrier, and then choose one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, ignoring barrier, and KO it. Really no reason not to run this in the side deck, in my personal opinion. It's a really, really good card. Drop 2 cards, you get rid of anything in the game. It doesn't even matter if they get rid of it the following turn, because you ended up getting rid of their major threat. Champa the Trickster, this is a placeholder for like Mutaido, Champa the Trickster, that kind of stuff. Just the counterplay, play this card, do a thing. I like those cards a lot. Maybe your deck wants to mainboard them, maybe your deck wants to sideboard them. It's up to you. I personally have Mutaidos on the side in my build of my deck, only because I don't feel like I need it all the time, not against every matchup, but it's something that you can't always just put in the sideboard. Unexpected Turn, another really good counterplay, something that's really good against aggro decks. Some good aggro hate. If your opponent has 3 or more battle cards in play with energy costs of 2 or more, the battle card your opponent is playing is placed in their drop area instead, and then you choose all the battle cards with energy costs of 2 or less, ignoring barrier, and send them to their owner's warps. So really, really good at clearing the board of a bunch of 2 and 1 drops, aggro kind of stuff like that. It does work against U6 because you're not KOing their 1-drop kills or Khalifas. You're sending them to the warp, so they can get that can happen to them. And next we have Dark Power Black Mass Saiyan. This is another card that's good for Baby. Also good for Demigra, stuff like that. So what happens is, basically what it says is whenever your opponent plays a battle card using a non-keyword skill, so an auto, they have to drop 2 cards from their hand. We're really good against Baby because of the Mew Baby combo, where they would bring out the Mew for free and then play the Baby for free. If this Black Mass Saiyan is on board, it would trigger on the Baby's arrival to the field, and then they would have to immediately drop 2 cards, and then they'd have to draw 3 off of Baby's effect and drop another 2. So they essentially negged 1 during that whole interaction there, so they didn't actually gain any advantage off of that. It does work. It only works against 15k or less, so like for example, like U6's being able to auto arrival kind of thing, where they bring out the Kale or the Khalifa on top of the little Kale or the Khalifa based off their auto effect. It wouldn't work because those are 20ks, and it only works on 15ks. So just be aware of that. But really good card to side deck. If you see it turn 1, play it immediately, and it can really help you go far against your opponent. Next, another thing for aggro. I personally don't know if aggro is going to be that rampant in this format for PPG Orlando. But I mean, if it does come up, Kami, really, really good. Or not, I wouldn't say aggro, sorry. Baby's aggro. I would say Storm, like where there's, a bunch of cards on the board, things like Demigra, U6. Kami, just 2 energy, 3 energy total to get rid of everything on the board, 4 or less, ignoring barrier, and KO them. Fantastic card. You also draw a card when you play him. He has deflect, so he's coming out no matter what. Really, really good card. I would recommend siding at least 2 of them just in case. Next, we have Mercenary Tau, Ruthless Trainer. He has barrier. His permanent, if you're going against a green or yellow, reduce the energy of this card to your hand by 1. So he'd be a 1-drop in that instance. 9 times out of 10, you're going to play this guy when you're going against a red leader because you use him for topo. His auto is that once per turn, when a card in your hand is placed in your drop area by an opponent's skill, your opponent has to drop warp 3 cards. So, when you go to swing, your opponent topos, and then now it says that if you want to swing again with topo on the board, you have to drop 2 cards. The ruling would be that if Mercenary Tao's on board and you swing with their topo on board, you drop 2 for that swing, and then your opponent then has to warp 3 from that swing as well. So a really, really good way to kind of just mitigate the damage that topo is doing to you. Like, yes, you're still going to have to drop those cards, but your opponent's also going to have to warp 3 at the same time. Plus, you're also going to probably be dealing damage to them with the swing as well, unless they have a way to stop it. So really, really good. Really, really good card for topo. It's definitely something that you're going to be seeing this tournament. Next, Tin Shinhan Returning Fire, still a really good card. If you're going against blue or red, reduce the energy cost of this card by 3, so he's a 1-drop. When you play this card, your opponent can switch energy to active mode with a non-awakened skill to the end of your opponent's next turn. Just a good way to lock down beams and restanding energy and stuff like that. And then we have this kind of foo package over here. Dimensional Banisher Foo, I think he's really good for spot removal. Just, tap 1, warp a card, double strike, really good. And then the big foos over here, I put these here in for Hachiyak, because what Hachiyak says is your opponents, once you swing with a 7 or lower, that's the only card you can swing with for the rest of the turn. You can only swing with 8 or up, 8 or more after that. This Foo the Dark Banisher is an 8-drop triple attack. Overwhelm for just 4 energy. Really fantastic card against Hachiyak because you can swing 3 times with him. You can give him double strike with a Champa or something like that. Really good way to apply the pressure. And then the Foo Shrouded in Mystery, we all know that is the big Foo. 6 energy, Overwhelm 10, double strike, negates everything on the board except for leader skills. Everything period, in your opponent's hand, board, everything, until unless it's their leader skill, until the end of their next turn. The reason why these both are here is I think it really depends on what deck you're using. If your deck can comfortably get to 6 energy, get to turn 6 against something like Hachiyak or something like that, and get the 10 cards in warp, then I'd recommend playing the Foo. If your deck can only really comfortably get to like 4 or 5 energy, then you might want to play the Foo, the Dark Banisher instead. Both are really good. Both do really really impactful effects. Both are definitely really necessary to going against Hachiyak. You might even want to main board one of them. I'm main boarding one of them. So it really depends on what deck you're playing. The last tip I'm going to give you guys, the overall tip for sideboarding, is it all really depends on what deck you're playing and what your deck is good at and what your deck isn't good at. If your deck is good at dealing with aggro and you already have, your deck is already built for dealing with an aggro deck, then you don't really need to side deck in cards for aggro. You do want to side deck in cards for more of a mid-range deck if that's what your weak point is. If you're really good at controlling the board and you have no problem popping cards, like for example, let's say you're playing green-blue and you have Piccolo Assimilated ability in your main board, so you're already good at clearing board with your just Piccolo's Activate Battle, being able to pop a card, draw a card, then you might not really need to side in things like Kami or things like the Baby Vegeta Unfair Choice. So it really depends on what your deck is good at and what your deck isn't good at, that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you guys really do work on your side decks. It's very necessary for the PPG tournament. Make sure you guys also hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.